is Arts Alive. I'm Linda Philippi. My guest is Emily Grosvenor, and she's here to talk about herself and her art and the upcoming Terroir Festival. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
First let's talk Terroir, and the date is going to be April 19th.
Yes.
And you are presenting a workshop on?
The workshop that I'm doing is geared towards writers of pretty much all genres. It's a travel writing workshop. My philosophy is that all writers should be, if they're interested, incorporating travel writing into their kind of grab bag of skills that they have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that travel writing is something that should be reserved exclusively for travel writers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that many people have this desire and need to get out and to connect with place and to share their experiences with other people. So my goal in my workshop is to introduce them to what may be for them new ways of thinking about how they might approach that kind of writing.
Okay. And how did you yourself start doing travel writing?
Well, I'm trained as a journalist. I attended
Mm-hmm.
the University of Iowa and have my master's in journalism. So when my husband and I were kind of finishing grad school, we were looking for places to go. And we decided on Oregon because it seemed like this kind of blank slate kind of place, and it seemed like the kind of place that would generate a lot of work for me especially, since I was interested in writing about people who get really, really kind of fanatically into their work. And there are a lot of interesting people out here in Oregon. So we came out here, and what I found was the kind of writing I was gravitating to, was travel writing, was going out and having these experiences, seeing a place through fresh eyes,
Mm-hmm.
just really connecting, finding a way to kind of feel a part of the scenery or not feel like a part of a scenery. In many ways, Oregon felt then and still feels now almost like a foreign country, even more so than Europe did. I mean, it's a very interesting place.
That's interesting to me to hear you say that, because you said you come originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Right. So when I think of, that, of course, I think of the Amish,
right,
with the buggies and the rolling hills.
And that feels like home to me.
But how does that, that doesn't seem so different than what's here.
Right, it's.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I think it's interesting.
It's hard to explain. I think Oregon affects me on a very physical level. The air here is different. I mean, it's easy to say that the seasons are different. You experience the seasons differently here.
Mm-hmm.
You experience all four seasons really powerfully. Just the level of moisture that's in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I always see older women, and I'm amazed out here that everyone is so well preserved. Like no one gets wrinkles out here.
Well, thank you, darling. I appreciate
know
that.
it's amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
see grandmothers who are like, look like they're on the cover of More magazine out here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're
As
walking
opposed
through
to Las Vegas, for example.
Exactly.
Right.
So in some ways you feel like you're walking through like an aromatherapeutic spray mist. Right,
Mm-hmm.
when you go to the woods, it's a very physical place. I think it has a way of kind of seeping into your skin in a way that places I haven't lived has.
I think it's amazing that you experience it that way. I love it. And your blog, you said, is called?
I'm working on a new blogging project. It's called Pioneer Perfume.
Okay.
Since I became a mother, I've found that I didn't know this about the nose at the time, but some of your scents get worse as you age, but if you immerse yourself in scents, like perfumers know this, your sense of smell can actually get more acute as you become older. So after I had my children, I don't know if it's pregnancy hormones or what, but I just experienced this very kind of acute connection to my sense of smell, both in a good way and a bad way.
Especially with babies.
Exactly. I mean, there's a reason that it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about connecting. It's all
Right.
about connecting to your child. But I also found that I just had this desire to get out and smell, everything under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
What is the smell of the Oregon woods in the summertime? That's a very specific smell.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in love with those scents, and I've been writing about the process of getting to know a place using scent as the filter.
Mm-hmm. I love when it's, when you go maybe to Central Oregon, like Bend,
Right.
and it's hot and
Oh
it's
my
dry,
gosh.
And that great pine smell.
It's amazing.
I
It's
love
amazing.
that
I mean, it'll
smell.
clear your sinuses. Ponderosa pine oil
Mm-hmm.
is known for clearing your sinuses. My husband has the worst sense of smell. It's kind of odd that he's married to someone whose sense of smell is through the roof, although maybe that's usually the way it happens with couples.
I guess, yeah.
But Bend is the only place where he can actually smell things
Really?
because of the way that ponderosa pine affects him.
Well, I think it's true that a lot of people move here and then their allergies kick in.
Right. Right, they're allergic to something.
Because this is kind of the growing capital of everywhere.
Right.
And everything blooms and something is usually blooming almost every single day of the year.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a maritime rainforest. I try to tell people we live in a rainforest, and they don't believe me. But it's the maritime rainforest. So, in the rainforest, you always feel like things are dying and being born over and over and over again. It's a really special place.
And obviously, you found a lot to write about. Now, so let's talk a little bit about your celebrity in Salem, Oregon.
Yeah, it may have waned in the years since I left Salem, but while I was living in Salem, I did have a pretty popular blog down there. It was called Desperately Seeking Salem, which was kind of tongue-in-cheek. It was a blog in which I kind of grappled with Salem's image as a kind of a state capital with kind of an identity crisis at times. So in the blog, I would often find moments of rapture where I found, really awesome people doing really amazing things, and sometimes I would find a lot to complain about. So I always thought of it as like a cautionary love letter to Salem. And eventually it was picked up by the Salem Weekly as a column. And then my final home there was the Statesman Journal. It was kind of strange for me. I'm not used to having my picture and things, and they would run like, a picture of me, I don't know, going on a pedicab or something through the streets of Salem. But, Salem was very, very good to me. The community welcomed me. And I don't think it's always that easy when you move to a new place
I think that's true.
to be embraced like that.
Just to find your place in the fabric of the community, and where do you fit in, and who are your friends going to be.
Right. That's a process. It's part of the process of finding home wherever you are. So I felt really lucky that people kind of connected with what I had to say down there, and that I found, and this is something that blogging always does, no matter what you're blogging about, but finding commonalities with people who you wouldn't necessarily have any reason to interact with.
That's true.
Right. That's what kind of inspires me and what gets me going about social media in general.
So how did you get involved with the Terroir Festival here?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. Just recently, I've wanted, for the 2 years that I've lived here, I've attended the festival, and I've kind of lurked a little bit and haven't kind of put myself out there, because my kids were so young, and I knew that the second that I became involved, I would become really passionate about it, and I would want to be, have my hands in everything and just help and just have that level of engagement. But with my kids so little, I knew I needed to kind of hold back a little bit and wait for my moment. So this year, I just, my kids are getting a little bit older, and I'm starting to feel that need to connect again. I miss teaching. I was teaching at the University of Oregon in the journalism department when I was living in Salem, and there's an energy that you find on a college campus that you just don't see anywhere else. And then adult learners are completely different. They bring a completely different set of passions to a classroom. And as I was preparing my PowerPoint presentation for this particular workshop, it just struck me how much I love the material, like how much I love just engaging with travel writing in all of its forms, from like tiny little pieces to, literary works and major magazines. Like I love travel writing. So just the chance to meet people who feel that way about writing. And, since I've been to the festival 2 times now, I know what an amazing thing it is to have something of that caliber happening in such a small community. Like, I couldn't be prouder to live in a place that has the passion to put that on. I mean, it's just extraordinary, and just to connect with the writers.
It really is a labor of love. I mean, this is something that people do put an extraordinary amount of time into,
Right.
including the two people who are running the cameras for this show right now,
Right.
Mike
Right.
Santaday and Gail Watson, who
Right.
both put an extraordinary amount of time into the festival, as well as a lot of other artistic endeavors.
Right.
So, yeah, it really draws good people.
Right. So this year I felt like I need to be involved. What is it that my voice can share with this particular group? And I thought, travel writing, that's what I do. That's what I can share. I'm going to do that.
Good for you. Yeah. So now, obviously, you're still doing freelance work as
I
a
am.
travel writer. And are you still doing journalism as well?
I do. I've kind of scaled back on actually profiling and feature writing because
You're not going to Afghanistan anymore, covering
No,
the
no,
war
no,
or anything,
no,
right?
no. My heart really is in profiling and feature stories. Like I think the last one I had was on the Oregon State Hospital,
Okay.
which was an interesting story because we actually went into the archives as they were building the museum. The Oregon State Hospital Museum, and we looked at specific objects and picked objects that would tell the history of the museum, and in doing so, the history of mental health in the 20th century.
That must have been pretty fascinating.
It was pretty involving story, and that ended up coming out with Portland Monthly. But I've kind of scaled back. I just don't have the time to do that kind of work right now. I'm working part-time, and I have two tiny people I'm taking care of. So the work I'm doing right now is mostly for publications like Sunset, for whom I've been doing day trips. So if you ever see a day trip on some city near McMinnville, it's usually mine. I have like a radius that I've been covering, about an hour around McMinnville. The next one's coming out about Dundee.
Perfect. That's
in
great.
May.
Yeah.
In May. And then I also write for AAA. They have a publication called Via, which I love writing for them because they're definitely interested in historical places. And I'm one of those people who, I see a brown sign and the first thing I want to do is just like veer off the road. That's kind of who I am. So it's nice to write for an audience that appreciates that too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And doesn't just want it to be so cut and dry, like
Right.
eat here, shop here,
Exactly.
drink here.
Exactly.
Some of those travel guides they're just so focused on
Right.
consumerism that you think, okay, really, I could have figured this out,
Right. And I think
on
there's
Yelp.
exactly, and I think especially within your magazine, the drive is always who's the new people in town, who's doing the funkiest thing, who's making single origin, kombucha,
Right.
and that's not how we all experience travel. A lot of us just like to poke around.
Right.
Right, and really feel a sense of history in a place. So I try to seek out work that kind of balances the interests that I have and that serves people who kind of connect with that filter that I have.
Well, I would love to sit and chat with you more, but we're almost out of time, so I'm going to recap real quick. Terroir Writing Festival, April 19th at Chemeketa, and your blog, Pioneer Perfumery.
Yes, Pioneer Perfume.
Pioneer Perfume. Did I say it right? Okay, Pioneer Perfume blog, and the fabulous Emily Grosvenor, who I hope lots of our listeners and viewers are going to come and take your workshop, because I certainly plan to. I'm really excited about
to
that.
meet everyone. Come up and introduce yourselves to everyone.
I will, yeah. And hopefully they will too.
Great.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.